Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you again to another great edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad you're here today. We have a fantastic show and some fantastic co-hosts who are amazing and beautiful, Dr. Chanel DeGuzman and Sheila Applegate. Good morning to both of you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Man, I'm so excited about today. This is a fantastic show. We're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, intuition. The God's whispers, is that my grandmother would say.
Mm.
But before we get to that, I just want to make sure that we acknowledge the transition of one of the greatest talents this generation and former generations has ever known. The passing of the legendary Tina Turner. I cannot tell you, as a musician, as a performer back in the day, that I think part of what I would do on stage has roots back to her because she changed the game. And so thank you, Tina, for what you brought to our world, how you empowered women specifically. I talked with friends yesterday about her legacy, and they were like, "Oh, Tina helped me get through a whole lot of a lot of pain and challenges and that kind of thing." But I just wanted to start our show by acknowledging her. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Anyway, how was your week been, Dr. Chanel? I mean, I've talked to Sheila a couple times this week, but I haven't got a chance to talk to you. What's been going on, girl?
Yeah. So you all know that we went down to Florida, Bradenton, Florida, to attend my son's graduation. So that was sort of the culminating event of this year and a half journey. And great, beautiful ceremony. They had mentors that talked about each graduate, and Gian's mentor started off by saying, "You have a heart the size of Texas." So that warmed my heart. I was like, okay, I think we did it right.
Oh, wow.
And
That
so
is amazing.
brought him home, and he got a chance to finally officially go up to U of M and walk around with his dad and his Nana. So he's in heaven right now. He's home. He's at Michigan. So the world is all right.
Now, why do I have a goofy smile on my face? I'm like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
That's how matriculation should be, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So he goes into this next part of the chapter of his life with all the support in the world, from where he was leaving to where he's going.
Yes. Thank God.
Life is good.
Thank you.
Sheila, what's been going on with you since we last talked? Inside joke, everybody.
Well, today I have a really marathon day, so I'm in a focus mode. Let's get through today. Everything is great, but that kind of one step at a time thing, and then tomorrow eases up a bit. So
absolutely, I understand that. Well, listen, I want to remind our listeners that you are part of this conversation. And so as we go through today, talking about how to access our intuition, please feel free to post your comments, your thoughts to our live feeds. You can also let us know where you're listening from. If you're out of the country, let us know what country you're listening from, because we want to know where you're at. And, makes us feel good that we're actually connecting with people globally. So you can post that into the chat as well. Ladies, I found this great clip that I want to start off today's show with. So let's go to Auntie Oprah.
Yes.
In all of the years of doing the Oprah show, there were many days that I sat in my chair across from 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 or 7 people, and I would be so frustrated because I just wanted to shake people sometimes and say, why didn't you pay attention to your life? I said on the show, probably the producers tell me that they counted 33 times, but I know I thought it at least 1,000 times. I would say listening to your life as it whispers to you first, so that it does not have to knock you upside the head with a brick or come crashing down on you as a brick wall, is one of the greatest principles of life, because there are many things that happen in life that are beyond our control. Natural disasters, death, unexplained events. But there are also many, many, many things in life which we can control and become out of control because you're just not paying attention. You are sleepwalking through your life. And I have seen this so many times on the show. I wanted to take the guests and go, would you just pay attention? So this is what I've learned and how I've explained it to myself. Life whispers to you all the time. Your life is speaking to you all around, from the time you wake up in the morning and every single experience that's coming into your personal space, into your physical space. All of those experiences are speaking to you. They're telling you something about your life and about your circumstances. It whispers, and if you don't get the whisper gets louder. If you don't get the whisper, when it gets louder, it gets, I call it like a little pebble, like a little thump upside your head. When I was a kid, if I was doing something my grandmother didn't like, she'd just turn around and thump me. She wouldn't even look at me. She'd just give me a thump, and I'd know that's my cue to stop it, or we're gonna get worse. The whisper is the message. The pebble or the thump upside the head, usually it's gone into a problem. You don't pay attention to the problem becomes a brick upside your head. The brick upside your head is a crisis. You don't pay attention to the brick upside your head, the crisis turns into a disaster, and the whole house brick wall comes falling down.
All right, Auntie Oprah. All right now.
That was so rich, Brian. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Come on through, Oprah. Come on through now. I mean, shoot. Amen. I mean, have y'all been hit? Y'all been hit with the pebble before? I know I have. I can admit.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
what reaction?
Even some bricks, probably.
Oh yeah, I mean some bricks too, right? Sheila, reactions from you.
Well, I think she did an awesome job of kind of taking everyone through the journey of like, wake up, this is what's happening. You know, it's complicated to listen to your intuition and to live from that space. In some ways, and in some ways it's our natural state. This is kind of what I work with most with people in coaching, because there's so many different layers and subtleties that are involved in that. So I think that it's important for us to remember that, like, yeah, we do need to wake up. We need to pay attention. Things are talking to us in every level all the time. And then also realize that it's an art and it's a relationship that you're having with the world around you, with your internal emotions, and the people around you, to notice these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What were you thinking, Dr. Chanel?
I was thinking, just like you, Brian, she is so on point. Life whispers to you all the time, and it's so faint sometimes.
Right.
And I know Sheila's going to address this as we go on, but initially it seems faint, and it's like, am I hearing that? But then there's other times that you really know that you know. And I'll give you an example. I was interviewing for a new position at the University of Michigan. I had been a stay-at-home mom for about 6 years or so, and I went back and I interviewed, and the position was a decent way for me to come back, but the person who I was interviewing with, and it was a whole committee, and I may have shared this with you all before, but she just flat out said, "You know, you're overqualified for this position, right?" And inside, Brian and Sheila, I knew that. And she confirmed it. And
Mhm.
what do you think I
Wow.
did? I backed it back and I said, "Listen, we're all a group of women here. You know how it is coming back after being out of the workforce. And
Mhm.
so I'm willing to come in so I can ease my way in and still, be available to my kids." And sure enough, it was a disaster. It ended up being a disaster over the long term
Mm,
because I got that message loud and clear and I didn't act on it.
mm,
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
definitely learned to be more attentive to,
Mhm.
and we're going to talk about trust, I know, but
Yeah.
you know, at the present time, it's like, okay, I want this job. I want to come back. And yeah.
It's funny because I think part of our intuition is it's in our inner wisdom or God's whispers is that yes, your intuition is always talking to you, and you can always ask for guidance from your intuition as well, right?
mhm,
Where if it is not as clear, um I remember um when I moved to DC actually from Houston, one of the things that I asked of my higher consciousness was clear, direct, unmistakable uh,
mhm,
guidance and direction from spirit, where I could not deny that not only did this exist, but that this was the direction that I was supposed to go in. And I would ask for that before it went into a crisis kind of thing.
Mhm,
mm,
Right. And
mhm,
it worked. It
mhm,
worked. And so, that's another part of this that um I think that she was bringing up too, in terms of like this, you know, if you find a way that works for you in terms of connecting with your inner wisdom, then do that, right? Use that. You don't have to do it the way that everybody else does it. Some people write it down, some people tape record, some people just listen through meditation and that kind of thing. There's no perfect way of connecting. The main point is just to connect and access, right? No, we're off to a great start. Thank
Brian,
you.
yeah.
I like your unmistakable qualifier there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you got it. Yeah, because I mean, we our ego will say all this, say, nah, no, I don't think that that's right.
Mm,
And we'll make excuses and try to try to find a different way that may not be the way that you're supposed to go. And
You walk
so,
it back a little bit.
oh yeah, you walk it back because we're all afraid, right? Listen, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about this next step, which is about trust, right? And we're talking about this unmistakable kind of thing. So we're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with This Morning with Soulivity as we talk about accessing our inner wisdom. We'll be right back. Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime. And hello there. We are back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. I have my beautiful co-host Sheila Applegate and Dr. Chanel DeGuzman, and we are talking about accessing our inner wisdom. And, there's another part of this. And Sheila, I'm going to go to you to talk about this next part, which is all about trust.
All right. Well, in the last segment, Dr. Chanel and you, Brian, were discussing kind of some of the layers that actually add to the difficulty trusting, because you mentioned listening to your inner wisdom and how you asked your guidance to support you and make clear the next step for you. That's one level. Like, that's a communication that we're having with something in that we consider divine, and that connection that guides us. And then you mentioned the ego, which is our survival instinct. And
Right.
so the
Right.
ego is a very important part of this, and intuition runs the gamut from that. And so the basic intuition means to move forward without passing it through your logic. Although I think we can add logic to it. I
Yeah.
don't think we have to separate it. But we have physical body responses from
Ooh.
our what we call ego now. That's that tingling, the hair raising, the gut wrenching, or just this tightening of your muscles. And those are designed within our DNA to
Yeah.
protect us from danger. But we don't run into woolly mammoths on a regular basis now. So danger is pretty confusing, right? Like, is it dangerous if I go to that party and I feel awkward among the people? Yes, your body thinks it is, right? And then you have to move to, okay, is that now the logic comes in, the accessing of yourself. Is it really a life-threatening danger, or is this, is it pushing me past my comfort zone? And that's where the trust comes in, and that we can learn. And throughout, I'll give you exercises in a little bit. We'll let everyone chat, but we can learn to be in dialogue with all those different levels of our inner wisdom and instincts, so that we can work together with all of them.
Yeah. Love that. Love that.
Love it, love it, love it.
Shana, what are you thinking?
So I was thinking the unknown, the lack of certainty, not having the black and white, like the concrete, right? So in learning, there's different levels. So as we develop academically, like there's a black and white, and there's the right and wrong answer. And then as you start to become more conceptual, things become more fuzzy. And this is how I'm seeing trusting our inner wisdom. It's not concrete initially. Like I said, it's that faint whisper that you're not used to. You're used to being able to feel, touch, and see something and know something with certainty. And this inner wisdom is giving you the glimpse, but then you have to grasp it and trust that there is the positive outcome on the other side, that there's all things are going to work for your good on the other side. But going through it, I think what Sheila's also saying is, yes, there's some survival. I want to feel certain. I want to be in control. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Because when you're going on this inner wisdom, this inner knowing that you're not as familiar with, there is a trust that just has not maybe been developed. And things that are not developed and unfamiliar, we're going to go back to those things that feel right and safe, that we can put our arms around.
Yeah.
And I think also, and we'll talk about this eventually, but if you're like numbing yourself, self-medicating, sugarcoating,
Yeah.
then your senses become not as alive, awoke. And so then that little voice really it starts to really get faded out. It fades out to where you're not sensitive to it, especially if you are quote unquote self-medicating.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think that survival and just not knowing and having certainty is probably, I know, the reason why I sometimes don't attend to that small whisper.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. As you both were talking, I was thinking about this very fact. everyone is using their intuition all the time, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They may not be using it to its fullest potential, but they're using it anyway. We get up in the morning, right? And we start doing things. We're not thinking about what could happen between the time that we get up out of bed to the time that we brush our teeth, wash our face, get something to eat, get dressed, get into our cars, drive. I mean, we're not thinking about any of all of the possibilities of what could happen while we're doing all of that. And that is in part because at a baseline level, we trust. We trust we're going to be okay. We trust that we're going to make to our destination okay. We trust that in whatever positions we hold that we're going to be effective in that. I mean, there is a level of access and trust that's there that we are actually acting upon, and we'll be talking about the acting part in a minute. But so we all have it. So I want to make sure that people understand that you already are using your intuition and your inner wisdom and are trusting that in your own lives, especially those who have had any kind of level of success, professionally and personally, whatever it is. What we're talking about now is taking that to a whole nother level and being conscious of it. Right.
That's the key, Brian. Conscious.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. And so like Oprah was saying, we just sleepwalk, right? Where we're kind of asleep and we're kind of like bumping our heads. The other thing I was thinking about too is, it's kind of like where we only like quote unquote pray or go to that when something's wrong, right? So we wait till the brick hits us, right? And then that's when okay, now I'm going to access this thing because I'm in trouble now. And it's like you can not only access that beforehand, but just accessing it will dispel whatever may come as a brick later on. Right.
Yeah, I love what you said, because the small things are a really important place to start.
Absolutely. And they're easier to manage. And it's easier. Do we want to it's kind of like any chore, like, mowing the grass. Do you want to wait till it's like 3 feet tall to mow it? Or do you want to mow it when it's like a little bit, a half an inch or an inch, right? Much easier to deal with, right? Maybe a little scary. Yeah, it's easier.
Yeah,
and maybe
easier. And then
Yeah.
it starts to grow and grow and grow. And then the next thing you know, it's full blown, right?
Right. Oh man, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, I can't, I think all of us are kind of saying the same thing. And that is, creating access, accessing it and then trusting it. And then the next step is acting. We'll be talking about that in a minute, but it's so important. I mean, your life becomes infinitely easier, right? You still have to have faith. You still have to have, you still have to walk the walk and get the ahas. I still get ahas, right? Where I'm like, okay, is this really going to be okay, Spirit? And the Spirit says, yes, Brian, I said that again. I'll say it again. It's okay. It will be okay. You're going to be okay. And then the next day you wake up and then a miracle comes your way. You're like, oh, wow. Okay. You said that, didn't you? Yeah, I said you were going to be okay. Right. So, why don't we take, I really want to dive into this. So why don't we take just a really, really quick break?
Okay.
Loving the direction of the conversation this morning. Again, if any of you out there want to talk about any experiences that you may have had using your intuition, please, feel free to share that. And so we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
6 years ago when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose. so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. I've got my good friends with me, got some good friends with me. Hey, Sheila.
Hey there.
And Dr. Chanel. Hey, girl.
Hey, Brian.
We're talking about accessing our inner wisdom, and we're going to move. We've been talking about how to access it, trusting it, and now we're talking about actions and acting on it. Sheila, you said you got some great examples here.
I do. So, we're talking about listening to the whispers before it gets big. And it is important to practice that because we're building a trust, we're building a communication, we're learning how our body responds. So, one of the examples I love to use is like, if you're headed, you're almost at the car and then you think, oh, I should get the umbrella or something that you should run in for. And maybe you're late. And so your brain's like, I don't know, am I really going to need it? So I do that still, even though intuition is most of my life. But, Zach always laughs at me. He's like, Sheila, you're Sheila Applegate. If you think something like that, just act on it,
Right,
that's
right.
what you do. But so it's difficult though, right? Because you might run back in for the umbrella and you might get great evidence because, it pours and you're so grateful. But you could also run in for the umbrella and it didn't rain, right? And then if you're judging your ability to listen to intuition based on the evidence, it gets complicated because you don't know if running in for that umbrella slowed you down 2 minutes, which was exactly the 2 minutes that kept you from being an accident that you didn't even know because it never happened.
Right.
Or you might forget the umbrella in the car and then, a month later when it's pouring, you're like, oh, great, my umbrella's here. So, so it's kind of tricky. And so that is where that level of trust comes in and noticing the times that you can notice, right? Like, that's where you build up your evidence and your trust. And I give people a couple little techniques to practice and it's always practice with the easy things because it's not as emotionally infused. So finding a parking spot is one of the great ways to do that. So,
yes.
And so if you put your attention on finding a parking spot, now your next step is to be aware of, did I get an image of a spot that I know and now I'm driving to it? Did I feel the sense that I should turn right or here turn right? And then I take that turn and now I feel like a left and I'm following that. Or, what else is telling you how to get there? And so you're paying attention to the way your intuition is talking to you because, you're going to find a spot eventually, but if you stop and pay attention to the process of it, then you now are engaging with it and you're a participant in the process consciously.
Absolutely.
Come on
That's
through,
good
Sheila.
stuff. What this also reminds me of, you all, is conditioning and how that interferes with our inner knowing, our inner wisdom, our intuition. And I'm thinking about especially our young people who are, when you're young, like for example, when I was young at 9 years old, you all, I was already teaching in my grandparents' basement to my siblings. Now, they weren't, willing volunteers, but my grandparents made them stay down there because I was acting in my gifting. I was moving. That came natural. But then I questioned it and I ended up changing my major before I went to college. And I think as kids, when we don't have these filters of conditioning, teachers don't make a lot of money. Teaching is so demanding. You're going to have a lot of homework and bad kids and bad parents. So I switched my major. But my intuition has always been grounded in education. And I think young people especially have a sense of what they're good at, their gifting, what they have an affinity for, but
Mm,
Mhm.
perhaps not being able to have that reinforced, because when do we really start paying attention and acknowledging and following and taking action through our inner knowing, right?
Mhm.
That's developmental, and I think a lot of us make foreclosed decisions on our chosen profession based on the things that other people think we should do,
mm,
trust,
Mhm.
our gifting, trusting our desires to go
yeah.
into a field professionally that will bring us joy and satisfaction. Now,
Mm,
I'm thinking of, like, actors, right? They seem to be
yeah.
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
good at that, right? They'll leave from Missouri and go to Los Angeles.
Mhm.
Intuition is telling them that, yes, I can make it. Yes, I have a calling. I'm going to do well at this. And even thinking of my son who left, very firm roots here in Michigan to go to an unknown academy all the way in Florida,
Right.
he definitely followed his intuition on that. And
Mm, mm,
thank
mm.
Mm.
God his parents were there to support him. But
Yeah.
I just don't know that we all have that developed. And but like you said, Brian, I think it's there, and I think we need to start, and I think maybe through this conversation, maybe people will become more aware and start to
Mhm.
really pay attention and take action
Yeah.
on their intuition.
Absolutely.
Just to springboard on what you said about learning it at a young age, coming from the parental side, we get our intuition suppressed so much when we're little,
Oh
Yes.
my gosh, yes.
And
Yes.
so I was really aware that when I was a child, if my mom would say everything's okay, but I could tell she was not okay, that it upset me because it made me question my intuition, my knowing.
Oh.
And I think we do those things to people all the time.
Mm,
So, with my kids, I would say, "Well, I'm upset right now, but I know everything's gonna be okay." And that subtlety doesn't deny that inner intuition, which is our natural knowing.
absolutely.
You know what, you all, just to pinpoint this too
Yeah.
on the professional side, Brian,
Yeah, yeah.
think about Monday morning and how many people resent or don't like where they're going on Monday morning to their
Oh,
job,
man.
right?
Oh,
And
oh, yeah.
why is that? Is it because they didn't listen to that inner
Right.
longing, that inner desire, that inner preference for something that they really wanted to do? Or did they go into a profession because the job was posted and they needed a job,
Mhm.
going back to that
Mhm.
survival? So we have strong evidence that people professionally are not in the places that probably they really wanted to be in.
Yeah,
Right.
that's such a great, great, great point. Because I think a lot of times, especially in Western societies, we measure ourselves against our professional success.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The who of what we of the who we are instead of the what we are. We're human beings. I mean, we're spiritual beings living a human existence, not the other way around.
Mhm.
And so that is a great indicator and a great start, actually. I think it's why it's so important, and we're going to go into some tips around how to do all this in a minute. But it's so important why, like, getting into a quiet space in the morning when you are
Mhm.
really connecting with how do I feel about starting my day and going through my day? Am I in dread of everything that's gonna happen after that? Or am I in some form of, well, things may be challenging in this area, but I'm really happy about where I am?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Two different things. And the connector to get you moving into that direction of being happier, being more joyful, really understanding that life is really meant to be good. Thanks, Howard Caesar, for giving me that. I'm always going to plug him
Mhm.
on that one. Um, is this more than idea, but this truth that through your inner wisdom, through your intuition, that's always there for your best and highest good, that you connect into that, and it'll start creating this life for yourself that you've always dreamed of.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mm, mm, mm. All right. We're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about some tips and what it means to kind of do some repeating of this stuff. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. We're talking about accessing our intuition, our inner wisdom, whispers from the soul. And what are some things that you guys do? What do you guys do to keep in contact with that part of yourself? Who wants to go first? Sheila?
I was going to have Dr. Chanel go
Dr.
first.
Chanel. Yeah, Dr. Chanel, you go first.
Okay, I'm happy to go first. So, one of the words that you use, Brian, is consciousness. Consciousness. So I'm daily, and this needs to happen on a daily basis. We know the scripture, renew your mind daily, renew your connection to your soul, the connection of the things that bring you happiness and joy. You need to be in touch with that every single day. And so when I wake up in the morning, when it's all, because I'm a early riser, when it's all nice and quiet, I do take that time for myself to go within and just be quiet. People have this thing about meditation. It's not like a big deal. It's just go in, sit quietly, start breathing so that maybe you can pay attention to your breath and just allow. And as I'm allowing, I'm reconnecting to my soul, what makes me at peace, what makes me happy and comfortable. And then I try to align all my decisions to match that energy from when I started in the morning. And, we get into that automatic mode of living, right? Just like you said, getting up, brushing your teeth, doing this, going for breakfast, starting your routine. But I think we need to pause and just throughout the day to just, take a conscious breath,
Yeah.
reconnect to our soul and just be on the outlook, listening for those little soft whispers and those gentle areas of guidance and redirection, because they're always there. Those guideposts, they're there. I think just becoming more sensitive to them on a regular basis. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to be more sensitive. I'm trying to attend to and listen and redirect my steps according to that little whisper, so that whisper can become normalized for me and not like a bang on the top of my head. Too far away from me.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Sheila, what about you?
So for me, I'm looking at this from a place where it really is my natural state. But what I do is I align with all the levels of my consciousness on a regular basis throughout the day. So it's linking in, feeling that light fill me, and then moving through my body, every cell of my body, down into the center of the earth and then back up again. And then from there, I expand out and upward to my higher levels of frequency. And so in Consciously Awesome Gnostic Adventure, which is where I teach people to live from this space, I have there's different frequencies that we get used to. And so I pay attention to each of those. And so the crystal canyon energy is my soul energy, and I connect with the other souls around the earth and in the ethers. And then the next one frequency is the vibrant earth. So that's the vibrant self. That's where I'm in tune with my most vibrant essence, and that is in tune with the world and the imagination and the knowing that everything is divine, and that we can manifest what we desire by being in tune with that. And the next level is divine grace and that feeling of love
Mm.
and support. And then it moves up to the oneness, that connection of wisdom that we have with all things. And so, in the process, that's it takes a process to really be used to each of those, to get to know them, make them apart. But then as I go through my day now, it's there. That's my natural state. So if I go out of that state, if I move out of that, just like going outside of a tornado, right? The chaos is in the edge, right? So if I move
Right.
outside of that, it's going to be very uncomfortable for me. So it's uncomfortable. It's more comfortable before you get in, right? If you're like way out, you're not feeling it, but you're kind of numb. Once you're in that state, you start to notice that it's uncomfortable not to be. And that's sort of my guideline now.
I love that. Ooh, mine's a combination of both of yours. I find that waking up early, getting into a quiet space, and not necessarily asking any specific question, but allowing myself just to commune with spirit and God, and let that kind of flow through me, um, allows me to begin the day from a place of ultimate deep trust, right? That I'm now operating, I'm plugged in, or I'm more plugged in. And the more that I do that on a daily basis, the more that I stay in it. And then, like you, Sheila, throughout the day, even as I'm doing busy work or whatever, that connection allows me to, be led in certain directions, right? Where, if I'm working on a project and I'm coming up to a roadblock around how I should do things, I take a moment. I'm able to take a moment, check in, and get led to what I'm supposed to do. May that even be put that work down for a minute and move over here to something else. And then that something else may lead me to something else, and then the answer to the original question that I had, right? I think it's important that just having this regular practice of doing any or all of everything that we've talked about will help people stay grounded in their higher consciousness, right? Because I think what happens is that again, my friend Howard Caesar would call it, if when we don't do that, our ego automatically starts throwing dirt over that part of ourselves, and it starts getting covered over, because our minds are a beautiful thing. Our intellectual capacity is a beautiful thing. But when we let that take control, all it sees is ones and zeros, yes and no's, black and white. And there is no beautiful rainbow of color that is our lives, that we can move through and understand that life is both complex and simple, and that we have to allow our intuition, our higher mind guide us instead of all that other stuff, because we'll just get inundated in it. Just get inundated in it, in that minutia of, what if this happens, what then this will happen, and if that happens, then this will happen.
Exactly. That's a long and windy path.
Oh man, and it leads to, and it is funny because it's in a circle,
right?
and you
Right.
just go,
Too.
you go around and around and around and around. Listen, we're gonna take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll have some final thoughts from everybody.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. And I'll go to final thoughts from you, Dr. Chanel, first.
Final thoughts. We're here already.
I know. I know.
Well, I want to echo some of the words that you used, Brian. You used the
Mm,
word commune,
mm,
something that we're not as familiar with, and not having our agenda when we go into that quiet place. And if you're going, before your higher conscious, before God, not to have any agenda, but just to commune with this awesome, you know, entity of love and joy and peace and all things good. Just to commune and bask in that fullness is just divine, and it leads to so much inner knowing
mhm.
as we avail ourselves. And you also pardon me, you also use the word deep trust.
Yeah.
I think that is where it's at, and that higher consciousness. So those are some words that I'm definitely going to be grasping to, and then just continuing to trust. I mean,
Yeah.
all things are good. So, God is good. It's all good.
Mhm,
Everything is working for my highest good,
mm,
and I can rest and move in that knowing and then live moment by moment. And so I'm
Mm.
not too far out in front of me. I'm in touch, I'm present, and I'm listening and attending to those whispers that are coming to me all the time.
Wow.
Mm.
Thank you for that. Sheila?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel very similar to you, Dr. Chanel. That communion is so essential. And it made me think of something my minister said when I was young. And he said, prayer is asking, meditation is listening. And I think that we have to remember, whatever our connection to our higher consciousness is, that it is a two-way communication that we want to be having. And that is essential on the journey. And playfulness, I think, is so important. That's why try the
Wow.
little things. I think hide and go seek is a really special way to learn too, where your keys are suddenly hidden and you have to find them in the place that you wouldn't never have put, but somehow they're there.
Oh, I love it.
So the playfulness, the understanding, that trust comes with the process of just being in communion and allowing it to unfold. And absolutely, the universe is conspiring on our behalf. And if we trust in that, we can really just ease our shoulders and move forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. I've just put something in the chat that I'm going to read from as my final thoughts. And this is from something from Abby Saylor, who's talking about, listening to your intuition. And she says, when you realize how effective your intuition really is, that's when you start to feel more powerful and knowledgeable as a human being. We know, even subconsciously, more than we think we do. Now, this
Mm.
doesn't only apply to sketchy situations, but all aspects of life. Your job doesn't feel right? Quit. You're overwhelmed by an odd feeling when you walk into a store? Leave. The person your friend just started dating gives you the heebie jeebies?
Mm.
Tell them. I'm working toward listening to my intuition more and not taking my gut feeling for granted every day. It has to be practiced for sure. So I
Mm.
say to you, um, please allow your intuition to guide you. It is part of knowing and confirming that all things work for my best and highest good, as both of you were saying. And it will lead to what we call here at Soulivity your best life, which is what we wish for all of you. So,
Mhm.
woo,
Well
great
said.
show.
Yeah.
Great show today, guys. Why don't we get to some shameless plugs, which we always love to do here. That'll be our next our newest segment, shameless plugs with Soulivity. Um, Dr. Chanel, you still have some coaching sessions going on, right?
Absolutely. One-on-one coaching sessions. This is our time to find out what you really want and listen to your intuition and really get you on a path to get there. And also check out my book on Amazon, which is Come Back to Yourself, Love, Life, Live Free. That is what this show is all about today.
Ooh, all right now. Come on through. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Y'all better go get that book. I'm coming after you if you don't.
I got to go get that book.
I know, right? And, and I just put I'm going to be putting some links in the chat box for everybody as well. Sheila, you've got a lot of things going on. Where do we want to start?
Okay, first I want to start with asking you to put the title of Dr. Chanel's book in so I don't forget it later, and everybody else might. And then, well, I want to say, if you are listening today and you want to deepen your intuition, your connection to your higher consciousness, a great way to start would be with a soul connection session. And I offer those on my website, SheilaApplegate.com. And with Soulivity, you can use the code SOUL, capital letters, and then 23, SOUL 23 to get $44 off your first session. We also have a fractal illumination gathering coming up on June 3rd, and that is an energetic modality that helps your frequency, your body, your mind, and your soul adjust to the chaos in the world and move through this in a very smooth and peaceful way.
Woo! Good stuff happening. And we got another Matrix of Illumination coming up.
And Matrix of Illumination, June 8th, here on Soulivity's Aspire. Ooh. And I will be opening up to the divine and bringing messages and offering you a guided meditation.
All right, perfect. Well, we only got a few more seconds left, so I'm just going to say, on behalf of all of us, thanks for joining us for this great episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast, and on Thursdays and Fridays at 9 a.m. Pacific time on KMET 1490 AM radio for all of you on the West Coast. Until next time, keep having real conversations with passion and purpose, and create your best life, which is a life of high quality living today. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.